Yo, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Diancie, mainly because we are all going to be getting one after next week. And I think a lot of players want to know whether or not this Pokemon is worth it. Well, let me tell you straight up right now, this is the absolute best mythical when it comes to raid DPS that Niantic has ever released. The reason for that is because, of course, Diancie has a Mega Evolution, and that actually elevates it to one of the best Rock-type raid attackers currently in the game. Before we continue, let me talk about some of the comments from the last video that I uploaded. I know I mentioned that everyone would be getting a Diancie, specifically even those who attended Pokemon Go Fest last year, but that is simply not the case. I know a bunch of you left a couple of comments mentioning this fact, and I just wanted to clear the air. You will not get a new Diancie if you went to Pokemon Go Fest last year and you picked one up from back then. Unfortunately, that means you will not be able to re-roll IVs. Like myself, I stated that I really wanted a 100% IV Diancie or something close, but unfortunately it looks like that opportunity is not going to come. But if you do not have a Diancie, you're in luck because you're going to be able to get this mythical for free through a special research. And keep in mind that this special research is going to cost you nothing. It's not going to be a ticket that they're selling in the Pokeshop. It's going to be something that every single player is going to get. And if you already have a Diancie from last year's Pokemon Go Fest, you're going to get yourself a bunch of candies from it, which I think is still going to be helpful because you will want to max out this Pokemon as much as you can. So before we get into it, I think I should take a moment and talk about a couple of gamer terminology that I'm going to be mentioning quite a lot, specifically DPS and TDO. So first, let's talk about DPS. This stands for damage per second, and it's basically the amount of damage your Pokemon will deal per second. The higher this number, the more damage it's going to deal. It doesn't necessarily reflect how tanky it is or how long it's going to last in battle. That is determined by the TDO score. TDO means total damage output, which means within a set period of time, it's the amount of damage that this Pokemon will deal before it gets knocked out. Meaning that if a Pokemon is a lot more well-rounded with a high attack stat as well as a high defense stat, then that means that Pokemon is going to last longer in battle while still dealing out a lot of damage. Basically, TDO is going to matter for bosses that hit a lot harder, whereas DPS is going to matter a lot more for those instances where you want to deal as much damage as possible. I think it really depends on the situation, but when it comes to this Pokemon in particular, I'm going to be talking about how it compares to other Mega Evolutions and other Rock-type Pokemon in terms of both DPS and TDO. Alright, so with that said, let's talk about Diancie. So, what is the ideal moveset for this Pokemon? Well, you're going to be using this Pokemon as a raid attacker, specifically when it comes to rock types. It does have a dual fairy typing, but unfortunately when it comes to fairy types, it really doesn't hold a candle to some of the top fairy types that are already in the game. But when it comes to rock types, it's actually comparable to some of the top Pokemon. Namely, the Mega version of Diancie is considered the best rock type raid attacker right now. Some would argue that it is Tyranitar, which to a degree it can be Tyranitar considering that Tyranitar is a lot bulkier, but when it comes to Mega Diancie, it actually has the highest DPS between the two. The ideal moveset that you will want on Diancie is going to be Rock Throw and Rock Slide, and you will want to use it as a Rock-type raid attacker. The DPS of this moveset is going to be 20.48, which is actually considerably high, considering that when it comes to Shadow Rampardos, which is currently the absolute best DPS Rock-type, that one only comes in at 21 DPS, so you're only off by 1. And the nice thing is, Mega Diancie is extremely tanky, so it's going to have a much higher TDO compared to Shadow Rampardos. However, in terms of tankiness, unfortunately, it does not hold a candle to the other rock-type Mega Evolution, and that is of course Mega Tyranitar. Mega Tyranitar deals only about 17 DPS, however, it has an extremely high TDO score at around 840. Mega Diancie has a TDO score of 540, which means that when it comes to both of these Mega Evolutions, Mega Tyranitar is going to last longer in battle, and in most cases, that's going to be more ideal because you will want to give out that Mega Evolution bonus for much longer. But personally, it wouldn't hurt to have both invested into. Like, if you're in a raid party with a group of friends, make sure one of them has a Mega Tyranitar, and you could bring Mega Diancie, and you're going to buff each other up. Mega Diancie could be used as your DPS Pokemon, whereas Mega Tyranitar could be used for the Mega Evolution damage bonus. That's probably the best way to go about it, and it's going to be the most efficient, and considering that most of the legendary Pokemon that are weak against rock types are double weak to rock types, that means the two of you should be able to take it down no problem. I'm specifically talking about Pokemon like Moltres or Articuno. They all have a double weakness to rock, which means if you're going up against them as a raid boss, you're gonna have a much easier time if you have both a Mega Diancie as well as a Mega Tyranitar in that raid. So yeah, do not discount Mega Diancie. Out of all of the mythicals that they've released so far, with the exception of maybe Shaman, this is definitely a very solid raid attacker. If you need yourself some good raiders, then this is definitely a Pokemon you will want to invest into. Even though Tyranitar is arguably going to be considered better, I still think this Pokemon has a lot of value, considering that it has a much higher DPS compared to Mega Tyranitar, and in most cases, that's going to matter a lot more. But yeah, with that said, that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would love to know your thoughts regarding Mega Diancie down below. Do you have yourself a really good Diancie that you've been using in raids? Do you plan to get your first Diancie next week when we get that special research? I would like to know all those thoughts down below, and yeah, let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to take a moment and give a shout out to all the patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the absolute best way you could do so is by becoming a patron on my Patreon. If you become a paid member, you get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon GO friends list. That's the perk. And if you want to raid with me or level up the friendship system together, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my channel in a different way, you can do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula, and I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. Alright, and that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch y'all later.